In this video, I want to talk to you more about why I think Chris Watts is a covert narcissist. And one of the things I want to talk about is his childhood. A narcissist will usually have had a parent who is a narcissist. And it's not always, but it's very commonly the mother who is narcissistic. And a narcissistic mother is interested in what her child can do for her rather than in the emotions and the emotional well-being of that child. They're not capable of empathy, and so they don't empathize when the child's upset, and they don't support the child emotionally. And instead what they do is they put the child on a pedestal and give it lots of positive attention when that child does something that the mother likes, and that help her. And that could be that they're good academically, or they're good at sport, or they look good, or they do something that that makes the mother look good, and it can also be that they're very easy to manage. Chris Watts' mother, I don't want to say she's a narcissist because I don't have enough information about her, but I do strongly suspect she is one. And I noticed, in the report, when she was talking about Chris Watts with the reporter, she was talking about how he was good at sports and she was getting his medals out. And she was talking about what a good boy he always was, and both of those things were interesting to me because both of those things would make her as a mother look good. And it was interesting how she focused very much on his achievements and on how good he was. There's no such thing as a child who is genuinely being themselves and who is always good. And so my impression is that Chris Watts learnt from an early age to conform and to be the way his mother wanted him to be. And so his mask started when he was young. I was looking at some text messages between Chris and Shanann when Chris had gone to North Carolina to visit Shanann and the children. And Shanann was upset with Chris because he hadn't stood up to his parents when they were treating Shanann badly, after that nut incident. And I'm just going to see what it was. What was it that he said? That she said. One of the things she said was, "Believe what," and then I'm putting in brackets, "your dad. Believe what your dad tells you and move back home where you weren't appreciated when I met you. No one ever protected you from your mum, and someone should have done before me. I had more balls to stand up for you a long time ago with them. I always defended you, always," she says. So it sounds like Chris had quite a tough time with his parents, and he wasn't able to stand up for himself, and Shanann needed to do it for him, or she certainly felt the need to do that for him. And so the impression I get from that is that his emotions weren't respected when he was growing up. And Chris became an accommodating person really from a very early age, where he became quite used to behaving in an accommodating way that didn't necessarily match up to the way he was feeling inside. And this is what narcissistic people do, From an early age, they learn to split off from their emotions because their emotions are not being supported at home by one or both of the parents. So they split off from their emotions and they have this fake persona to get themselves by, in life. And that's what Chris Watts did. There was how the mother behaved with Cece, in giving the children around her ice cream with nuts in it, and feeling that it was okay for Cece to just watch other children eating ice cream when she couldn't have it, because she wasn't apologetic at all about that. She wasn't concerned about Cece's feelings, and she also wasn't concerned about Shanann's feelings. She didn't respect the emotions of these two people who were close family to her. So that also points to very narcissistic behaviour. And she also left nuts around Cece, which suggested to me there was some kind of power trip going on. And relationships with narcissists are always about power. They always have to have the upper hand, and they have to prove to you that they have the power in the relationship. And I think that's what was going on there with the nuts. Because she knew how important it was to Shanann, and she felt a need to show that she wasn't going to change her behaviour just because something mattered to Shanann. I'm adding this to the video because I also want to mention a couple more things about Chris Watts' mother. And one of them is that what I said about her putting the nuts out, I said that she would have been making a point that she wasn't going to change her behaviour just because of Shanann's feelings. But I also want to add to that ironically, I think she was changing her behaviour in order to make that point. I mean, they may have been nut fanatics, but I think it seems to be quite a coincidence that there was nut ice cream offered. There were nuts on the lowest level of the kitchen cabinet so that Cece could have reached them. And then there was a bowl of nuts on the table. So it seems to me that in order to make her point that she wasn't going to alter her behaviour for Shanann, she ironically was altering her behaviour, and that is sort of quite an aggressive way to behave, and quite typical of a narcissist, that they will go out of their way to make a point, that they're the ones in control. And there's also how she responded when Shanann complained to her about the nuts. Obviously Shanann was devastated, and she then found herself blocked on social media by her mother-in-law and Chris's dad. We don't know if Chris's dad did that because he was told to do it, or if they decided together. I don't know if he's also narcissistic. I don't really know enough about him. But this is, again, really extreme behaviour. And it's another example of stonewalling. I talked about how Chris was stonewalling Shanann. And in the same way, his mother, when she was confronted with the way she'd behaved, and with Shanann being upset about it, her reaction was to shift the power and make it look like Shanann was the one who had wronged her, and she was then punishing her by not going to Cece's birthday party, and essentially punishing Cece for the fact that her mum had complained. And that wouldn't have mattered. That's another sign that Cece couldn't have annoyed her, but even Cece's feelings just really didn't matter, because it was much more important to make her point that she's the one in control and that she won't be criticised. She won't tolerate any criticism. And that's very narcissistic behaviour as well. So I hope that was helpful. Please let me know what you think in the comments section, what your views are. And please let me know if there are any other videos that you want me to make to do with narcissism. There are going to be more videos in this series to do with Chris Watts. So there's also going to be a video about Chris and his mistress, and then a video about the last week when Shanann came home to North Carolina. So please subscribe, and thank you for watching.